Intro. Most people have gone to high school, I'm presuming, but everyone has made a different life, and most people either live with the life and decisions they made in high school, or they live in the past. Everybody's unique, and there's a bunch of stereotypes for high schools, but I'm not an expert on that part. But there's a lot of ways that they can be portrayed in like movies. Those are the generic high school movies you may have seen. There's the jock and the nerds and the stuff like that, everything in between. But sometimes the high school movies are different, and they're less about the generic stories and more a realistic version of how high school actually is. The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I'm not going to say that whole name every time, which for this video, because it's so long, I'll probably call it Perks. I might call it Wallflower. I might call it everything else. But Perks may stick because it sounds like Percocet. And it's a movie that does this well. The realistic version of high school. The story is different from the rest of the high school movies. And it actually can make you cry at some moments because it does a really good job at being a movie. Haven't read the book, and I've heard it's better, but that's basically every book to movie adaptation. But let's go over the story a little bit. By the way, spoilers and I guess trigger warnings. I guess I have to put that there because I don't know. This is a sensitive story a little bit. It's the year 1991, and Charlie has clinical depression. He's had it for a while, since he was a kid. He's about to go into high school now, so he's kind of grown up. And so, he's kind of a little shy. When he goes in for his first day, he doesn't make any friends except for his English teacher. So, it's not really looking good for him. But, it's only the first day, so he's got some time. Then Charlie puts himself out there and goes to a football game. He meets Patrick and Sam there, who are both seniors, please remember this. They decide to invite him to a party. Charlie then accidentally gets high off his rocker and just starts speaking his mind freely, which makes the other people laugh. So he's getting a good reputation. Good for you, Charlie. Charlie then sees that Patrick and Brad, who is a football player, are gay. And this is the 91 year. Gay, and has to keep that a secret because it's the year 1991. But then Charlie tells Sam that his best friend, I'm going to say unalived himself. I don't like when people use that, but he unalived himself the previous year. So Sam decides to let Charlie into the group that they're in. This is so they can have friends. Then, when Patrick is driving Charlie home, Sam gets out of the truck, into the bed of the truck, and does the Titanic Rose pose to an unknown song because she just likes it. But we learn that Sam has to get a high SAT score for colleges, back when it was required to do that for most of them. Charlie tutors her for it so she can get into Penn State University and all that pizzazz. So her Christmas gift for Charlie, because it's Christmas in the movie, is a typewriter. It makes sense, he's a writer. But they talk about their past relationships and all that. And Charlie is like, I've never been kissed. But Sam says her first kiss was with her father's boss. So it was a first kiss that she didn't want since she was 11 at the time. Consent doesn't exist at that age. Charlie then says his aunt Helen was SA'd, but she moved on and learned to live with it. That's like paraphrasing what he says, but that's what he essentially says. Then it's New Year's Eve. Big party time because that's tradition. Charlie is tripping on LSD and his depression gets the better of him. His thoughts of Aunt Helen dying in a car accident kind of keep coming back to him, and it brings him outside and just lie in the snow. But he's fine since then he performs later, after getting out of like the hospital, in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is a play. Somebody from that, Elizabeth, asks Charlie to a dance, the Sadie Hawkins dance. And he says, yeah, and then they enter an unhappy relationship. That's where Charlie is kind of stuck there. Because at a party, this is when it ends, by the way, Charlie is dared to kiss the prettiest girl in the room. And he kisses Sam instead of Elizabeth. This makes both of them mad, and Patrick advises Charlie to stay away from the group. Which he does, but this causes his depression to get worse, because he doesn't have as many friends now as he did before. One day, later on, Brad, the football player who Patrick was kissing, comes in with some bruises on his face and makes fun of Patrick and calls him the F word. I'm not going to say it because I can't. Patrick beats up Brad, but then Charlie joins in, but blacks out. But he has knocked out Brad's friends, which makes Patrick and Sam happy. So they become pretty good friends again and start hanging out with him some more after this. Then Patrick kisses Charlie in a state of confusion, and then he apologizes quickly after he does this. Charlie's mental state gradually gets worse. Sam also gets accepted into Penn State and also breaks up with her boyfriend for cheating on her. Then she and Charlie kiss, and he gets a memory of Aunt Helen when she touches his thigh. That can be ignored for now. But Sam leaves for college, and Charlie starts to blame himself for Aunt Helen's death. But luckily, he is saved and wakes up in a hospital. It's also revealed that his aunt had SA'd him as a child, but after he's released from the hospital, the song from before, the Rose Titanic one, is seen to be Heroes by David Bowie, and Charlie stands on the back of the pickup truck on the bed, and the message is given one more time. We are infinite, end quote. Roll the credits for the movie. That's it. We got the tagline. Now, considering this movie is about high school, you could go on and on and on about high school stuff that happens in the movie, but I'll do that later. Right now, I think one of the main points of the movie is that friends are the people who help us through life. Let's put that on a poster, because it's true. Most people have a friend that they can rely on. I'm guessing that number is going down. But the idea of loneliness has spread more and more in recent times across younger and some older people. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's been this study floating around that less people have one or more close friends in their life. This could be due to a variety of factors, like the growing online communities or the way people consider people to be a close friend, or like all of that. But the number still goes down, which is concerning because loneliness doesn't cause good things. I'm not going to list off everything it could do to somebody, but overall, it does feel better to get out there and socialize. Even if you need a recharge afterwards, use social battery. You've heard that one before if you're an introvert. You probably had a good time with the people you socialized with, unless it's someone you don't like, but that would be a different story. But in the end, we really do need friends because that's who we connect to, that's who we go to for help. They serve a wide variety of purposes and are fun when you hang out with them. Because if not, what are you doing with them? Like, what? That makes no sense if they're not fun. That's what the movie does really well in showing, because Charlie was a wallflower before he met Patrick and Sam, and that really allowed him to put himself out there because they met him and like all that stuff. Then they helped him temporarily get out of his depression, It wouldn't do the same to everyone, but it would help some people have a sense of belonging, since that's what real friends are shown to do in this movie. In the beginning, Charlie is just kind of at his school because he has to be. It's a public school. You're kind of forced to be there. That's a lot of people's mentality. But that's what wallflowers usually tend to do. The standing in the back of the party people. That's like where they get their name. They have to be there, but don't usually have to socialize with people. They don't know I'm a wallflower. It's like that type of people. You know the type. So they stick to the wall like a flower. Get it? You get it. Like the name? Yeah. So anyways, in the movie, Charlie decides he's tired of being a wallflower because of probably two reasons. High school is a lot different than every other level of schooling, and he just lost his friend the year before. So it seems like he doesn't want to stay wrapped around this trauma that he has, but it could also just be one of the other reasons and not those ones, because I'm not a psychologist, bro. It's also because Charlie wants to make friends, and frankly, in high school, you kind of need to in order to make it through. So putting yourself out there is something a lot of people have tried once, even if you're not in high school. It's good to just do that because, like, you grow from it, I guess. That's, like, the general lesson of going out there. You may have put yourself out there if you were unhappy with the life you were living, or if you wanted to make some more friends, meet new people. It's a natural thing to do because sometimes it works. It works pretty well in some situations because, let's say, you move to a new city, nobody knows you, and so you have like a blank slate, essentially. You could form friendships from going out there, which is good. I mean, it's a city, after all. But make sure that the friendships are real. That's a message the movie doesn't really tell, but you can kind of see it in the movie, like, throughout it. You need friendships that are real and not fake, because fake people are people you just don't want to hang out with, because it's like holding someone's hand just to, like, find out that it was a plastic arm, essentially, and that's what you were holding. It's not something that's good for someone, because people sometimes rely too much on other people for things, which happens. That's human, like, life for you. It happens when you don't have enough self-confidence. It's what Charlie does in the movie. It just makes sense. Low self-confidence means you can't make yourself you or happy by yourself, so it makes you rely on all these other people for it and for you to be, like, happy and entertain yourself. But if you rely too much on these people and then they say, "Nah, bro, what's wrong with you?" It makes you feel hurt, betrayed even, because frankly, that's what you were, betrayed by the people you trust. What this does is it also puts you in a sense of not being able to trust people, because some people, when they go down the hole, continue to go down, like, a certain path, usually, because, like, low self-confidence, I want to get better, and then, like, these YouTube videos and stuff. It's really that's the rabbit hole I usually go to, as, like, a idea of maybe you shouldn't be, like, going down that way, but everybody goes down a different path if they try to make themselves better, essentially. Not that every path is the same, but they go down the idea of, one of them is, I can't trust them, so why can I trust everyone else? It makes logical sense. If that's your experience, it makes sense. But, like, as an outsider, it may not. But it isn't a good, like, rabbit hole to go down. But trust is a hard thing to, like, earn. It's also a thing in this movie that's constantly shown in various ways, as Charlie learns the hardships of his life in this time. There's two examples for this, but I want to bring the other one up later. So I'll bring up the first one, his perception of his family, mainly Aunt Helen. He perceived Aunt Helen as this loving figure who really loved him and wouldn't do like anything bad to him. And which is why it hurt him more when she died in a car accident, because he saw her differently than how she actually was. And this perception can be seen as a good and a bad thing, because once Charlie learns the truth about Aunt Helen and the rose-tinted glasses are taken off, it's probably hard to put a new image on her. It's hard to put a new image on anyone, and that's because of training our brain, but I'm not your therapist or anything. All I know is that everyone has an image for their friends and the people that they know. If you don't think you do, pop quiz, buddy. Think of your closest friends and put an adjective to them. Probably positive or negative based on your memories or even like your experiences with them. But even then, you still have that adjective. That adjective turns into an image because we like to visualize things. One of our many gifts as humans is being able to visualize that. And now you have that image associated with that person, even if it's not the first thing you think about when you think of them. And by the way, even if you didn't do this pop quiz because you're too cool, you still have this idea of your friends. It may not be an image, it may be a memory or anything that gives a definition to them. That's the vision you have for them, and the longer you know them, the more that image is defined. It's like going from 480p to 1080p. You just know what you're looking at more, and the image is more defined. It's harder to redefine a really defined image, so you need to make sure you have honesty and stuff. And that's what real friends really are for. Now, I'm not gonna tell people how to spot fake friends, because I wouldn't feel confident saying that type of stuff. But it's not something to usually worry about. If you really need to, or are just interested in it, I guess, then I would look up like some videos on it, but just make sure it's not like some insane stuff being like, yeah, that's how they get you. And they say these insane things, but use your judgment. Overall, don't get friends just to say you have friends, because that's not good. And it also makes it a number. And this also kind of applies to relationships as well, where you don't want to get into a relationship just to say you're in one. It shows desperation, in my opinion, IMO, but also it makes you sadder. Going back to the movie, Charlie gets into a relationship with Mary Elizabeth, and you can tell he doesn't really want to. This leads to the most uncomfortable scene in the entire movie. That being the kissing scene, where Charlie is asked to kiss the prettiest girl, and he kisses Sam instead of his girlfriend. That's the moment they break up, because Charlie probably felt it was the right way to tell her, but this doesn't happen in a lot of relationships. It only happens in the ones that like aren't really the best or aren't really on good footing. It's like, wow, betrayal, because like it wasn't a good relationship in general, so it made sense it ended that way. Sometimes people just put up with it because they want to. They think they need someone when they don't, and in this example, it's also the second hardship that Charlie learns. You have to rely on yourself for your confidence and not any other person. That's how you go deeper and deeper into this hole where you're relying on other people that you could lose. And if you do lose them, then you plummet. It's a realistic depiction of what happens to Charlie in this movie. He loses his friends, and that's part of the reason his depression gets worse afterwards. Because he was relying on other people, and that created a sense of dependency, which is one of the worst things you could do to yourself. I bet everyone and their fish's mother has heard the saying, you can't fill other people's glasses until your glass is full. I have because one of my coworkers used to say this all the time. There's some merit to it because if you're an unstable building, for example, nobody's gonna trust themselves inside of you. Hold your pauses. I realize the wrongings in that saying. You should always be focused on yourself before going to someone else, because you should be first, Buckster. You. Because let's be honest here, the only person you're going to see for your whole life will be you. That's just how it is. You're stuck with yourself, so you have to make yourself the best person you know. Otherwise, you won't be having fun, and you'll just be lying to yourself. I'm never going to be qualified to tell you how to deal with depression, so I won't. And I'm not going to try to claim I am. Again, if that's what you need or something, then I would recommend the help for it. But just remember, you should treat yourself now. Thunderbolts and that guy from the old meme. Obviously, I'm out of high school, so I can go off of what I remember, and that's only what I can go off of. But in this movie, it seems to be somewhat accurate in how it portrays a lot of things. For example, the events that the school holds are pretty accurate, but that's because they're all universal to high school. Homecoming games and the homecoming dance are the special ones for everyone. They're really the opener to the year, honestly. Like if these are good, your school year events might actually be that fire, but for me, they were mainly okay when I had them. Nothing special, but that's because it wasn't my cup of tea, but also because I didn't go to the largest school around. I also never went to the homecoming game because I never saw a point in it. The thing that's somehow accurate in the Wallflower is that the football players in the school don't really matter too much. They're irrelevant. That's something I never got from these older movies. The football players are not that important. I think that's just a projection in some way of somebody who got bullied. Maybe in high school. In some high schools they're important, but not in mine. Football players just kind of appeared. They weren't too jockey, but they also weren't focused on football. That wasn't their main personality trait. I knew a few of them, and they were pretty much just chill, because in modern day, not a lot of people make school sports their personality, probably because it might make them seem like a stereotype of the older movies, and you don't want to be that. So overall, glad to see that most people aren't fully enwrapped in one of their personality traits, because that's how you get some issues with how others see you, and it's hard to make it out of that barrier, that wall you're in. Oh, I'm just a football player. You can't get out of that if you're trying to be someone different. It's better to just be a universal thing, or just a person. Other than that, though, I did not have a Sadie Hawkins dance. I didn't even know what this was when it showed up in the movie, so it kind of just like hit you like an extra event, like a side quest. So I didn't get that, but I did get the prom. That's universal. Other than Sam in this movie being a super senior, I'm sorry if you disagree, but she is. She's a senior and Charlie is a freshman. Cry me a river, bro. I've known people who like mess around like that, 18, 14. Cry me a river, bro, but they're everywhere. Super seniors existed in my grade too, and it's more gross when you know them in person and see it. It's so disgusting, bro. But like other than that, prom really is where people feel like they peak because they get to look pretty and they get to look handsome. Like you get to be the good adjectives of the day. It makes sense. It's a pretty day or night whenever it's held, but also the stereotype is that everyone gets either laid or teenage pregnancies go up. That's the stereotypes of prom that I heard, like, throughout my senior year and junior year. You may have heard, like, different stereotypes. I just know that there's a bunch around. But that's not really shown in the movie. But the saddest part is going on to college. Though, it really depends on the size or the range of where people are going to college. Because nowadays, it's less sad. Back in the day, you had less technology and all that stuff, so it made sense to be sad. You have less communication, and everyone's separating. And these are the people you always knew, because they were just in your town. They were in your hometown. It makes reasonable sense to be sad. Now, of course, if your friends do go, let's say, across the country, it's sad, but it's harder to be sad now because of, like, technology. And also, it's impossible to go across the country because of the, like, cost of college. No way you're affording that, bro. I've seen those prices. $60K a year? Nah. You're relying off your parents' income for that one. But, like, if they do that, technology is there. But also, most people probably stay local for college because of the costs. In my case, my friends come down for the weekend because they're very local. And most of them don't even dorm because it's like $13K. That's crazy, but it makes sense because a lot of colleges around, like, a local area are pretty good. But anyways, in Wallflower, they didn't even have smartphones yet, so they really had limited ways of connection. Which makes it sad, because, like, Penn State, that's, like, way over there, bro. Oh, from California. And in the movie, the reliance on others is broken down here, but also in real life, it gets broken down. So just go back to before, I guess, for that, like, earlier in the video. But overall, a lot about the high school, even the teachers part, is accurate in the movie, but with some, like, aged elements, which makes sense because it's in the year 1991. It's not, like, gonna be modern day. No high school movie is, like, gonna stay in age like that. It's gonna be weird after, like, a few years. That's just how high school is usually. The music in the movie is the standard stuff. The copyrighted songs mixed with the emotional songs, but I would say it fits. It's like a trippy early 2010s first day of school vibe. It's hard to describe, but if you listen to it, you would be able to get it. Like, you know the early iPhones and how, like, their cameras were not that great? It's like that, essentially. When it's like, it's my first day of high school. Like, just picture that, bro. That's all you would need. I believe in your ability to make vibes from music or images, but it fits this weird time capsule. Late 90s to early 2010s vibes of music. When the internet wasn't as big as it is now, but it was still growing. It makes sense just because that's when the movie came out, but also the movie takes place in the 90s. It's supposed to be this trippy experience, especially with how it's, like, edited, essentially. You experience the movie through Charlie's POV and during his freshman year. The movie's ambient soundtrack mixed with some orchestral stuff makes sense because that's how the movie's atmosphere is. It's not like some action-based movie or like a documentary. It's an ambient, dreamy type of atmosphere as we follow Charlie through his school year. So the music fits, in my opinion. Now for the numbers, it did somewhat decent and probably good. It wasn't the largest hit because it only had a budget of $13 million, and indie films weren't as breakout back then as they are now. Remember, this is like pre-A24, so indie movies don't exist yet. But it only made $33.3 million in the box office. So, at least it made more than its budget, at least. Profits, that's what they saw. They saw profits, and that's it. It's definitely a post-theater hit, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 85%, which is pretty good. But on Letterboxd, it has a 4 out of 5, which is about like an 8 out of 10 if you do the math, which is close to the IMDb score. Which On IMDb, it's a 7.9 out of 10, because no movie on IMDb, for some reason, gets above an 8. On Metacritic, though, it has a 67 out of 100, because reading the reviews featured on the IMDb section of it, they just don't like high school movies, or they got bullied. It's one of the two. They either got bullied, didn't go to high school, or they just don't like high school movies. It's lower probably because they don't fully understand, and someone saying it's made for the damaged middle class. That was actually one of the reviews. It's for the damaged middle class. What does that make you? Okay, Richie. But the movie received positive reviews, which is good because I agree with them, and that's always good. I'm kidding. But it's nice to see movies get the recognition they need. Like how Fight Club and Scott Pilgrim got their attention after the movie theater. Overall, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, or POBA, is a pretty good movie. The main thing comes with the ideas of mental health and how friendships and all the other things matter. It's pretty good in what it shows because it's essentially you following Charlie for his freshman year of high school. I would give the movie a 10 out of 10, right below Interstellar, but like right above Fight Club, because I actually cried at this movie at some points. It is sad and a good movie, but that could be different from your opinion, Buckster. If you want to dare yell at me, then do it in the comments and whatever. I'm not going to respond to it. Maybe I will if it's good enough. Watch the movie for yourself to form your own opinion, but that's it. Overall, please like and subscribe if you want to. Pretty please.